Hello, welcome to Melody Joy Quilts. I'm Melody Joy, and today I'm showing you a quick fun project. I was working on a quilt for my nephew. He's turning 4 this summer, and I had been gifted this charm pack that had these little cars and little stop signs and traffic signs. I only had one charm pack, so I wasn't sure what to do with it, but then I got a second charm pack that was just white squares, and all I did was sew the charms together, alternating the colors. So there's no pattern for this because all I did was take pre-cut 5-inch squares. When you buy a charm pack, that's all it is. It's already pre-cut into a 5-inch square. So I had one package of white ones and one package of these cute little car themed ones, which is perfect, I think, for a little boy. But I didn't have a backing yet. I was cleaning out all my fabric and stash this weekend, and I found a large enough piece of batting to be the backing, and there's enough room all the way around that I believe I can add a small border. And so while I was at the store today, I found this, I forgot which color it was, but it's definitely a Kona solid, and it's lime green. So I think this will make a nice border. It'll kind of, there's a lot of black and gray, but I didn't want to go too dark because this is, you know, for a little boy, I want it to be cheerful. So I thought the lime green would make a nice contrast for a border. I'm gonna cut 2.5-inch strips of this green and just add a 2.5-inch strip all the way around for a border. Now the backing that I found, this was called a velvet fleece. And how fun is this fabric? It's gonna get some fuzz on there, I know. It has little dinosaurs, and they're wearing roller skates and eating pizza, and one of them has a microphone. Looks like he's doing karaoke. I just thought this was so fun. Now, I actually thought that this worked, even though it's obviously a different theme with the dinosaurs than this, but it has gray, it has like some yellow, red, blue, lime green, which are all colors that are in the top of the front, the top of the quilt. So I think it will work, even though it's not thematically the same. I think the colors work because there's so much gray, black, red, and we have those same colors echoed in there. I got 1.5 yards of this, so I should have plenty to make a 2.5-inch border. This ended up being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares across, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's 8 by 10, and this is just gonna be a small child's quilt. When I measured the quilt top earlier, it was measuring about 40 by 56, I believe. Because I had to take measure out earlier, and I was measuring it before I went to go buy the backing, just to make sure I'd have the enough. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on borders. I'm gonna cut these strips up, sew them end to end, add the borders around, and then I'll start working on making my quilt sandwich. I already have my backing here, but I'll need to get it all sandwiched together. I did go ahead and buy another can of this. I was out, but I like this 505 temporary adhesive. When I'm basting, it just makes things go so much better with less slippage, and things just tend to end up looking better throughout the whole process. So I'm about to get started, and thank you for joining me. Okay, I'm gonna put this so that the fold is closest to me. This is folded in half. That's how it comes off the bolt. I'm putting the fold closer to me, and I'm gonna try to line the far edge up with one of the lines on my ruler so that it's as straight as possible. This is not very straight right here, where they had already trimmed this off the bolt. You can see how uneven it is. Pretty jagged, it definitely goes. So I'm gonna first start by squaring this up and getting myself a straight line to start cutting from. Okay, so now I have a straight line. I am gonna go over 2.5 inches. And then I will go ahead and cut this. Now that should already be 42, which should be enough to go one way on my quilt. So I probably need to cut 6 strips total to make enough borders. And of course I'm gonna need binding later too, but I'll probably cut that out later. Okay, that's 2, 6, okay. Okay, so 2 of these strips should be long enough as they are for borders. I'm gonna join these 2. I'm gonna open this up, and because this is a solid, there's not really a distinct right side, wrong side. So I'm just gonna put 2 ends together, and I'm just gonna sew with a 1/4 inch seam. Actually a little bit more because there's a little bit of selvage here. It's the same color, but I'm just gonna sew these together. And do a little bit of back tacking on that. I want this quilt to be used and loved, and I don't want it to fall apart at any point in time. Okay, and I'm gonna do this with the other one. These will be for the longer side of my quilt for the borders, and I know they're gonna be longer than they need to be, but okay. So now, okay. I need to just quickly press this a little bit before I put it on my quilt top. So I have my ironing board here. All I'm gonna do is take the strips that I just sewed together. I'm gonna open this up so it's kind of flat. Just open that seam up, and I'm gonna give it a little press. My shorter side, I'm gonna take my strip that's 1 piece long, and I'm gonna start on this shorter side, and I'm just gonna go straight down the side here. Now, my charm squares did have pinked edges. I'm not gonna worry about that. I'm gonna leave just a little tiny bit of overhang from the okay. We're almost down to the end here, and then I'll trim this up square. Back stitch. Okay. Let's just lay this down. So you can see it went over the edge. It's a little bit longer than I needed, which is fine. I'm just going to line this up. And see, these edges are pinked, but that's okay. It's okay. I'm not gonna worry too much about the pinked edges there. Just gonna line this up and give it a little trim. Okay. Okay. And I need to do the same thing on this other side because there was a little bit of overhang here as well. So I just want to trim this off as well so it'll be flush with my quilt top. Okay. Now I need to iron this. Okay. Let's see here. I'm liking the lime green, and there's a lot of lime green in the backing that I picked out, so I think this will end up working well. Just giving it a little press. And now what I'm gonna do is open this up. I'll finger press it a little to make sure there's some fuzz. Okay. Finger press this a little bit. I'm pressing it, the seam towards the border. And I'm just giving it a nice little press here. Okay. And then same thing here on this end. I'm gonna open it, kind of try to smooth this out so there's not a gap here. Okay, so that's one border added, and that's just a 2.5 inch border. One of the reasons why I like to add borders, even if they're just small, is I feel like it frames your patchwork nicely, but also when I go to baste this and everything else, there's a lot of seams that end here. So I also feel like borders are stabilizing when you go to quilt all your 3 layers together. Adding even just a simple border helps you not to have any popped seams when you're trying to baste and you're doing all that, because I feel like it just helps secure everything really nice. Okay, this is one of my ones that sewed the 2 pieces. I just need the single piece here. And again, there's not really a right or a wrong side to this because it's a solid color. So I'm gonna add the border on the other short side. Same thing. I want to turn this so that it's laying flat here. And I'm going to trim off this excess. Okay. That's nice. And then same thing on this other end. Just going to flip this around. And this is easy to do because this is a smaller quilt. Sometimes I'm working with much bigger pieces of fabric. This is actually kind of refreshing to do a smaller project. It's just easier to handle. Okay. Okay. All right, so now what I have done is I've added a border on the two shorter sides. I need to iron this. Yeah, I'm liking this color green. I think these are supposed to be like little tractor wheels or something. And I feel like it's pulling some of the green there and the green there. And so I think I'm happy with my border color choice. So I wanted something that would help brighten it up. Okay. So now, finger press that back a tiny bit. I'll give that a press. Okay. Just a little bit more here. I think I actually pieced most of the top of this in December, and then it's just kind of been folded up waiting for me to get a backing. Today is the day. Today is the day. Okay. All right. Okay. So now I need to add the side borders. I'm just gonna iron this. It's got a little wrinkle in it. That was folded up. It is cute. I don't do very many little boy quilts. I just tend to gravitate towards florals and pink and purple and all that. So it's kind of fun to do something a little different. This is my piece that's sewn together here. It's just iron this flat. I'm ironing it open to help reduce bulk. I did use a small stitch length, so I'm not too worried about that. Give that a little press. It's a little wrinkly where it came off the bolt. Okay, so now it's gonna cross over where we already went. So we already did one side. So now we're gonna do the other side. Here, get that lined up nicely. Okay. I do think this is fun. I'm trying to decide what color I'm going to quilt it in. I might just stick with the light gray. I have Aurifil thread loaded in my machine right now. I'm putting one of these horizontal lines on the edge of my border and then lining the other straight edge up with the side here so that I can try to make this corner as square as possible. And there's just a little tiny piece there. Okay. Okay. I will now iron this. My son never sees me use the iron except for quilting. So we were watching a sitcom and this lady was ironing her shirt and he goes, "Mom, look, she's a quilter like you." I was like, honey, she's not actually quilting, she's ironing her clothes. And he'd never seen me use the iron for anything except for this, which I just thought that was really funny. Okay, just one more side to go. That's all the borders. Just need to trim this one more time. Iron, and then I can baste. And when someone talks about basting, it's just the process of putting all three of your layers together. So this part that I've just made here, you might hear it referred to as the quilt flimsy. Basically your patchwork part of the quilt. The other parts of the quilt are going to be your batting and then whatever you chose to be your backing. This a little press right here because this looks a little wrinkly to me as well. Okay, so now that is all done. I'm gonna get ready to baste. I'm just gonna put my quilt top here for a minute. I'm going to start with my, so this is my backing. Sometimes there's a lot of length that gets out because it's the minky. Well, it's technically velvet fleece, but it's a type of a minky type fabric. Okay. Buzz everywhere. Just nails of buzz. That is the backing. Next, I'm going to take my batting. I already know that this will fit my quilt top, so I'm gonna lay this out now. My velvet fleece dinosaur print was 58 or 60 inches wide is what it said on the bolt. It said 58 to 60 inches wide. Nice. Okay, so we're making our 3 layers. I see some little threads. I have so much white on the quilt top. I don't want any of these little dark threads to show through, so I'm gonna pick them off my batting. Okay, I'm gonna take my quilt top that we added our borders on, and I'm now gonna lay this out. pull it down this way. There's not gonna be a lot extra. This piece of batting was just gonna be barely big enough, but I believe it will work. So I'll pull this. Backing is pulled tight. Okay, so now I'm going to take some of this spray. The first thing I'm going to do is fold this back a little. Take some of this spray. I'm going to shake it up really well. And this is a tight squeeze, but it's good. I'm going to make it work. Okay. That's why I did a narrow border, because I knew my backing, I wasn't gonna have too much of that batting. Okay, alrighty, so that is there. Now I will just roll this up to this end. And as I go down, I spray a little. I'll roll this back and I'll smooth it out. And then I can spray a little more. Now I still add safety pins. This is not the only basting that I'm gonna do, but this helps a lot with keeping it from moving around too much on the wall quilt. Okay, just have a little more to go. It is movable, so if you have a big wrinkle, you can peel it back and stretch it out again and then smooth it down. It's not permanent glue, but it does help a lot with keeping things from slipping around on you too much while you're trying to get this quilted up. See, I feel like I went a little too far over the edge over here, so I need to pull this back a little bit. That's what I'm talking about. And pull this back a little bit, pull it a little bit more this way, because I kind of got off my edge over here, which I didn't like. It's easier if you work with a piece of batting that's definitely big enough. This one is just barely enough. Okay, I'm making it work. Otherwise, I just have random pieces of batting left over from larger projects. Okay, smoothing this out as good as I can here. Okay, yay! Okay, so now I will work on adding and gluing it all to this layer. So same thing, but now we're gonna do it onto this part. Okay. Now, cutting off some of this extra bulk down here on the end. I might have enough of this left over to make a little pillow or something. Okay. Pull this up. There's like a big old wrinkle here in the back. I see it now from this side. I mean, some of this will wash out, but the better you can baste, the less frustrating it is when you're trying to quilt. Okay. So now I'm going to safety pin through all 3 layers. Because even though I spray basted, doesn't mean it's not all going to go everywhere. So my main goal here is just to make sure that I've got all my layers anchored together so that it's not coming apart on me while I'm trying to quilt it. Now the whole thing is called a quilt, but the part when we say quilting is actually sewing these 3 layers together. That's what I'm about to start working on right now. It's a fun project, different than my norm, different than what I'm normally doing. And I have a floral jelly roll that's waiting for me, so that video is going to be coming soon. I actually haven't decided yet which jelly roll pattern I want to do. I've been looking at so many different ideas and I just haven't locked myself in yet to one single pattern. I received a really pretty, I think it's Sandy Gervais jelly roll that's floral, and I want to cut into it, but I'm not certain yet what pattern I want to do. So I'm waffling a little bit just because I just really can't make up my mind. I was looking at a Donna Jordan pattern that I liked called, well, it's Cozy Quilt Designs, but Donna Jordan made it in one of her videos and it was called All Stars. And I thought that might look pretty, but I might use a green as the background. So this was a fun little project to finish in between because I already had this done. I just needed to work on getting it basted and quilted. And so since I'm indecisive on my other projects, this is a good one to work on right now. And I am just rough cutting the edge of this. There's so much fuzz everywhere. My kiddos love a minky or a fleece backed quilt, but it is messy. There's just fuzz everywhere when you do this. I'll definitely have to get my vacuum cleaner out later. Okay. There's like a little, there's like a little pucker there. Okay, so getting that pucker out. See, this is all fuzz. I'll have to lint roller that too later. Okay, continuing with basting. Now, I'm gonna change my foot out on my machine because right now I have a foot on there that's just a 1/4 inch foot, and that's what I was using when I was adding the borders to this quilt. But as I get ready to quilt it, because there's so many layers, I'm gonna change to a walking foot, and that will make the process a little bit easier because a walking foot is designed to help you move multiple layers of fabric through without creating more puckers or anything. So right now, this is looking pretty good. There's not really a right or wrong amount of pins to add. This is not super large, so I know I can probably finish quilting this afternoon. I have a few hours till my kids get home from school, so I think I can get this done in that time frame. And so I'm eager to get started because I want to try to have this one checked off my list, like I said before, everyone needs me this evening. So, okay, I am gathering the tools that I need. I am going to switch to my walking foot. This foot is designed, it's also sometimes called an even feed foot. I also have a little indicator here so I know how far apart I am, so I can try to keep my quilt lines consistent as I move across the quilt. I'm gonna attach this foot here. Oh, I didn't do it right. I already see what I did wrong. There's this little bar here has to go on this little rod, and it is what helps the foot to walk across the fabric. So okay, there we go. Okay, now I have it installed correctly. I am going to tell my machine that I am switching feet. On this Bernina, this is walking foot number, it's the foot, the walking foot is number 50. I'm going to put on these little gloves. I'm going to set my stitch length to 3.5. When I was doing patchwork, I a lot of times have it on 2.5, but for quilting, I will move it to a 3.5 because a lot of layers to go through, so the stitch is a little bit longer. Okay, I am going to start. We're just gonna do some straight line quilting here. Now, this first edge here, I am just gonna edge right. I'm gonna start a little bit off my quilt sandwich. I'm gonna go down and a little back stitch. And then I am gonna follow right alongside of this border as I come down the side here. I am just working to keep the edge of my walking foot aligned with the side of this border. Okay, let's check and see how we did. Yeah, now actually I wanna move this guide. I wanna move this guide to the other side. I am just using a light gray thread. I wanna move, I'm gonna unscrew this for a second here so that I can pull this out and pop it in from the other side. Okay. Okay, so now I'm gonna come back up to the top of the quilt. I am going to put this little guide here along the stitch line that I already did. If I consistently do that as I move across the quilt, it's about 1 inch, but it'll be consistent. And not that I think my 4-year-old nephew will care, but it will just look neater if I can try to make those stitch lines as even as possible. So I'm trying to keep this little guide on this stitch line as I come along here. There's so much fuzz from the backing. I'm definitely gonna have to lip roller this later. I am just going to keep repeating that process until I get all the way across the entire quilt. Turn my ruler this way so I can work on edging it up. I'm almost done, which his birthday's not till June, so I'm actually ahead right now instead of behind, which never happens. I was home all day.
Started this from scratch today and it's almost done.
No, I had all the squares sewn together. I added the borders. And I did the basting, and then I did all the quilt lines, and now I have to add the binding. So but the squares I sewed together back in December. And it's when I cleaned out everything yesterday is when I found the quilt top that I had made back in December, and I was like, oh, I should finish this. And I was like, let me see. And it was the week that Hobby Lobby had fabric on sale, because every other week their fabric goes on sale 30% off. So you want to buy it when it's on sale. Well, I don't know, buddy.
Well, you guys look like fabric.
Huh? What's going on? What is going on right here? What is going on? Where is that stuck at?
Mom, do you need the goldfish?
Katie wanted some as snacks, but you can eat some of it. Just don't eat all of it.
Actually, I don't want any.
The next step is to attach the binding to the quilt. I like to start from the back, and I put the raw edges next to raw edges so the fold is towards the middle of the quilt. I leave myself about a 10-inch tail so that I can join the ends together later, and then I just sew down the side with a 1/4-inch seam. To attach the binding, I'm using a walking foot. And I like to have my position of the needle down so that when I get to the corner, I can stop with the needle down and pivot the quilt around. Adding the binding is such a nice part of the quilt because you can see how close you are to being finished. Now, I don't always use the binding clips, but it does make it a neater finished product. I had a lot less pulling and tugging since I had taken the time to fully clip the binding into place. Okay, so I just finished this little quilt for my nephew. Let's see how long it ended up. I have actually a tape measure right here. Let's see. Okay, this is right at 47. And then this way, we're at 38. So 38 by 47 is my final size. And I did this with 2 charm packs and then about a yard of fabric for the 2.5-inch border and my binding. And I did those the same color. And I machine stitched on my binding by starting by attaching the binding to the back and then folding it to the front. I have one little wrinkle here in my basting, but for the most part, I'm pretty happy with how my quilting turned out on this. Just straight line quilting with a walking foot. And I really like this fun, it's called a velvet fleece, but it feels like a minky. Because even though the front is themed with cars, I feel like my colors go really well together because there's blues, greens, red, blacks, yellows, all the same colors that are on the front. And so the green, the lime green works great with both sides. I'm just really happy with how this turned out. So it will be ready to be gifted this summer for the birthday. I have a few little loose threads to trim off, but no worries there. I'm gonna clip off any loose little threads that I find. And yeah, I'm overall pretty happy with how this turned out. A nice, fun little quick project. I just love this. Oh, it's so soft and it's so whimsical. I think it's perfect for a kid's quilt. Happy quilting!